Hello crafters, this is Flavia and I hope all is well. So very often I find myself combining different dies and stamp sets, even from different companies, to create new scenes and make note cards for many different occasions, even though a die or stamp set was designed for a specific holiday. I find it to be a fun and great way of maximizing the stamps and die sets that we have. So this will be the first of a series of videos where I share lots of card design ideas by featuring one main die or stamp set to create note cards for many different occasions. I hope you enjoyed this one and let's get started. So the star of today's video is this typing class die set from Spellbinders. I will be using this set to create many different types of note cards. This set was released in February 2022, along with a metal plate to cut out a typewriter. We also get plates to cut out beautiful flowers and sprigs, along with sentiments to make thank you and happy birthday note cards. Spellbinders website also suggests you use this set to make Valentine's Day note cards. I will start by creating thank you and happy birthday note cards by using the sentiment metal plates included in the set, and later we will change some things up and create note cards for Thanksgiving, Halloween, and even Christmas, featuring the same die set by Spellbinders. Before I start die cutting the pieces that I need for my typewriter, I will first add some interest to my background panel by stamping it with this Simon Says stamp U-Meta background stamp. Since this is a cling stamp, I will remove the black foam from my Misty stamping tool because cling stamps are very thick and we do not need this black foam. On the left, I already have my cling stamp stuck to the door, and now I will apply some removable tape to the back of my panel and place it right on top of the cling stamp with the side that has temporary tape facing up, so when I close this door, my panel will stick to the other side of my stamping tool, allowing me to stamp as many times as needed on the same spot until I get a good result and completely cover this panel. I'm using Concord and Ninth pigment inks in the color Aqua Sky for the first panel and Grapefruit for the second one. I love these colors and it will look even nicer when the ink has completely dried because the colors will look softer. The typewriter die cuts will go on top of these panels along with the flowers and leaves. So if you think that these stamped background panels will make your note cards look too busy, another way of adding interest to your panels is just to use an embossing folder like this one. I will use all of these panels so you can see the difference, and I actually like them all, it is just a matter of preference. So off camera, I spent about 30 minutes die cutting all of the pieces that I will need to make today's note cards, and I have them all sorted out in these trays. For me, having die cut pieces ready to go instead of stopping all of the time to cut what I need as I am making note cards makes the process faster and more enjoyable, especially if I manage to keep them all sorted out like this time. All of today's note cards are A2 size top folding, so they measure 5.5 inches tall by 4.25 inches wide, and they can go inside A2 size envelopes. For this big typewriter piece, I actually die cut it twice, and I will adhere them together. As you can see, the die also cuts a slit on the top, and that is where we can slide a note in and out, revealing a hidden message. And for that reason, I will only apply liquid adhesive around the edges of these large die cuts. I chose 2 shades of gray for this typewriter and a holographic cardstock that I love using. It is by Tonic Studios and I believe it is called the HoloWaves Mirror cardstock. If you're interested, I will have a list of all products used over on my blog, and you can find the link in the description box down below. This typewriter has a lot of details and it was very easy to adhere the pieces together. I'm using the Barely Arts glue, which is a great strong glue that dries clear, and to hold the small die cut pieces I like to use this self-lock pair of tweezers. I find it to be very helpful. Now to create a message that will go inside the typewriter on a piece of cardstock that is about 3 inches wide, I will position the Happy Birthday metal plates and run it through my Gemini Junior die cut machine. Since I wanted a color cardstock that matched the stamped panel that I created earlier, and I did not have any, I will create my own colored cardstock by applying that same ink pad directly to a piece of white cardstock. Then I will glue my die cut sentiment on top of it and trim off the edges. As you can see here, we can easily slide this note in and out of the typewriter, which is super fun. I will also stamp a sentiment on this white bar using black pigment ink. I chose the sentiment Hugs and Kisses from this Sending You stamp set, also by Spellbinders. Once that's done, I will round the corners of this note so it looks more finished and add some flowers and leaves behind this typewriter. This beautiful color of cardstock that I chose for these flowers is by Recollections, which is a brand of cardstock that is sold at Michael's Craft Store. This one comes in a pack named Flamingo with 5 different beautiful shades of pink and peach colored cardstock. To add some sparkle to these flowers, I will go over them with my Spectrum Noir shimmer pen, and I will add silver flat back beads to the center of each flower. To adhere embellishments to my projects, I prefer using the Gina K Designs Connect Glue. This is an excellent glue, and I like to save it for when I need to add embellishments to my note cards. Before we move on to the next typewriter note card, let me show you a fun way to create a matching envelope. To do that, I will simply add those same flowers to a white envelope. I will adhere one flower to the right side, trim off the excess with a pair of scissors, and I will also cut this die cut flower right on the edge of the flap of the envelope so we can open it again, and I will do the same thing on the other side. Adding the same die cut elements that you used on your note cards to your envelopes is a great way of bringing everything together and making them perfectly match. This next note card will be a thank you one. I'm using the Aquacolor stamped panel, and I will use the metal plates included in the typing class set to cut out the sentiment A note to say thank you. I'm using white cardstock again for this note, and the background this time will be glitter cardstock. I chose lilac and that same holographic cardstock for my typewriter, and this time I will stamp You Have a Nice Heart from this stamp set by My Favorite Things. For the flowers, I chose different shades of purple, and I will also add some shimmer and flat back beads just like I did with the previous one. Moving on to the third note card, here I just wanted to show you the different look that we can get by simply embossing the front panel instead of stamping on it. The note that will slide in and out of the typewriter has a happy birthday message in Portuguese that I created by printing it with my LaserJet printer and then foiling it with silver foil using my Mink machine. I do not have any dies or stamps in Portuguese, so every time I need a sentiment in my first language, that is what I usually do, since I like the look of foil. So far, all of these note cards that I made are very similar to what many crafters were making when Spellbinders first released this die set. But now we will step it up a bit so we can maximize this set and create note cards for a few holidays, starting with Thanksgiving. To transform this typewriter note card into a Thanksgiving note card, I will have to change 3 things. 1, I need to choose some of the traditional fall or Thanksgiving colors for my cardstock. 2, I need to go over my stash and find a Thanksgiving sentiment. And 3, I need to add some fall or Thanksgiving die cut elements. And that is why for this one I chose an orange color of cardstock for the base of this note card, and I cut the typewriter out of dark brown and gold cardstock. For the sentiment, I chose this old stamp set by Honeybee Stamps that was just perfect. I stamped Thankful for You 3 times on the whole panel and Autumn Blessings on the white tab. To add some interest to the white panel, I used a piercing plate also by Honeybee Stamps. This is the Spring Leaves A2 pierced cover plate. To cut out the pumpkins, I used another die set by Spellbinders that was released last year. All of these extra die cut pieces are leftovers from previous projects, so it took me no time at all to assemble these seasonal cards. For the 2 pieces that make each flower, I cut it out of the same color of red cardstock and I will go over each one of these smaller pieces that go on top with my Spectrum Noir Shimmer pen, and then apply Ranger Glossy accents so it looks like I used 2 different shades of red, plus it will make it very glossy, which I like. As a final touch, I decided to go around the edges of this white note using Ranger Distress Oxide ink in the color Vintage Photo. So now let's create a Halloween themed note card. I will start by stamping this purple panel that measures 5.5 by 4.25 inches with a background stamp by My Favorite Things called Ghoulish Greetings. I will again place the stamp on my Misty Door and then place my panel on top of the stamp with removable adhesive in the back so it sticks to the other side of my Misty stamping tool. This way it will stay in place as I'm stamping. I'm using black pigment ink, and here is a closer look on this panel. To stamp the sentiment for my typewriter, I chose a sentiment from that same stamp set by Honeybee Stamps that I showed you earlier for the Thanksgiving note card. Again, I will go around the edges of this white note using Ranger Distress Oxide ink in the color Black Soot this time. To die cut some bats, I used this old set by Fun Stamper's Journey. This is the Halloween punch plate, and I die cut it out of black glitter cardstock. I used the metal plates included in the type class die set to cut out the sprigs and flowers, and the only difference is that I used black cardstock. The black glitter cardstock that I used to cut out the bats are just scraps, and I don't really remember where that came from, but the black glitter cardstock that I used on the flowers, which is slightly lighter, is from a paper pad by Matt Stack named Glitzy Metallic. And to cut out this metallic silver typewriter, I used the Tim Holtz Ideology metallic cardstock pad. This pad comes with, I believe, 36 pages. Half of it is gold and the other half is silver metallic cardstock. For the last one, I will create a Christmas typewriter note card. I started by choosing the traditional Christmas colors of cardstock, such as a bright red for my card base and a gold cardstock for my typewriter. For the sentiment that will go inside the typewriter, I chose a stamp from the set by Concord and Ninth. I stamped peace, love, and joy multiple times with black pigment ink. And to stamp the other sentiment at the bottom that says Dear Santa, I tried, as well as for the gingerbread cookies that I will add later, I used this adorable set by Mama Elephant. To add some interest to this white panel that I will adhere to the front of my note card, I used this pinpoint snowflake plate by Memory Box. Piecing plates are a great way to add just enough interest to the background. Now I will add some gingerbread cookies that I stamped, die cut, and colored with Copic markers. Since the ink bled through the cardstock and it is not neat in the back, I will add another gingerbread cookie die cut in the back so it looks more finished. All of these die cuts are actually leftover pieces from last year. Every time I need to die cut something, I always cut extra pieces so I have leftovers for my next projects. And it is very important to me to keep my die cut pieces organized and sorted out. I find that to be very helpful and a time saver. So it took me no time at all to create these Thanksgiving, Halloween, and Christmas note cards, since I already had all of these seasonal die cut pieces ready to go. If you're interested, I will link to a video on the top right corner where I show you a few storage ideas for your die cut pieces. I was considering adding a candy cane die cut on this corner, but I decided to add a poinsettia instead. To cut out sprigs, holy leaves, berries, and this beautiful poinsettia, I used this Concord and Ninth Florals Edition 4. Again, this is another old die set that I already had, and it does feel great to put it to good use again. Here is a quick pic on my tray of leftover Christmas die cut pieces from last year. By having all of these pieces ready, it allowed me to spend more time being creative and trying out different pieces to find out what I like better on this typewriter note card. I will also add another gingerbread cookie inside this note card and go over the heads with my Spectrum Noir shimmer pen to add some sparkle. Now I will show you all of the different note cards that I created featuring the Spellbinders Typing Class die set. This first one has a happy birthday message in Portuguese hidden inside the typewriter. I embossed the front and back of this card base by simply placing my A2 size folded note card base inside the embossing folder, and I love having these beautiful embossed details at the front as well as in the back. Then I added a white panel inside where I can write a special message, and to make the envelope match I added some die cut sprigs. I also added a die-cut flower inside this note card, and this holographic cardstock that I used for the typewriter is absolutely beautiful in person. Next, we have this happy birthday note card with a blue typewriter. For this one, I added a stopper to the panel that goes inside the typewriter. This way, the recipient will only be able to pull it up and down instead of completely removing this note. So this is also a fun option, and all you have to do is to adhere a piece of cardstock strip to the bottom of this note. The cardstock strip has to be a little bit longer than the slit on the typewriter, so when the recipient pulls it up, it gets stuck and it doesn't come out. So for this one, when the note is all the way down, we can only see the word happy, and when we pull it up, we can see the rest of the message. I also added silver flat back beads to the center of each flower and used a metallic silver cardstock for some parts of this typewriter instead of holographic cardstock like I did with the previous one. Next, I have this very bold note card. To be honest, I almost did not show this one because at first I did not really like the color combination, but now I just love it. I don't think this is a very popular color combination, and that's what makes this note card even more unique. As you can see, these red flowers are very shimmery thanks to my shimmer pen, and to make the envelope match, I stamped only the flap of the envelope with black pigment ink using that same background stamp used for the front panel, which is the You Matter background stamp by Simon Says Stamp. Simon Says Stamp also offers other background stamps similar to this one, but with different messages, and I love them all. I can't wait to get a few more since I can stop using this one. And as you can see, I did not add a stopper to this note, so we can completely remove the note from the typewriter. This next one has my favorite matching envelope. We can also completely remove the note from the typewriter, and remember, we can also place a handwritten note inside the typewriter instead of stamping or die cutting a sentiment. However, since my handwriting is not so pretty, for me it is better if I just use dies or stamps instead. Also, notice how the ink color for the stamped background looks lighter now that the ink has completely dried. I think it looks even more beautiful. And here is the other note card featuring that same background panel. It also has a matching envelope with die-cut sprigs, and I added yellow flat back beads to the center of each flower. If you want to add some dimension to your typewriter, remember that you could also use double-sided adhesive foam. Here is another one with that same birthday message in Portuguese that says, I hope your day is as special as you are, and then happy birthday at the bottom. For this one, I added an embossed white panel to a lilac card base, and it also has a die-cut flower inside. Next, we have the Thanksgiving note card. I think that this die-cut pumpkin was just the perfect element to add to this type of note card. And I also added another die-cut pumpkin to the envelope to bring everything together. And check out how shiny and glossy these flowers are now that the Ranger Glossy accents have completely dried. Shimmer pens and Ranger Glossy accents are two of my favorite tools that I like to use to make my note cards look fancy. And here is the Happy Halloween note card. Since the base of this one is made out of black cardstock, I added a white panel inside where I can write a message along with a die-cut bat. For this one, I chose a black envelope and I added purple cardstock strips to the flap of this black envelope. Last but not least, we have the Christmas note card, which I had a lot of fun putting together since Christmas is my favorite holiday. To stamp the flap of this envelope, I used another background stamp by Simon Says Stamp. This one is the hand-lettered holiday background cling stamp. I just love everything about this one. The golden typewriter, the gingerbread cookies, the snowflakes panel, the berries, and the beautiful poinsettia. I also applied Ranger Glossy accents to the space bar of this typewriter, and the sentiment Dear Santa I tried is just hilarious. So this is all that I have for you today, and I really hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I did making these note cards and sharing it with you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel so you do not miss the next one. Also, remember to visit my blog for pictures and a complete supply list of all products used today. Thank you so much for watching this video until the end. It means a lot to me. Let me know in the comments down below which note card is your favorite. Have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you again soon.